Hey everyone, Ray here. Hope you're all doing well. This is episode 2 of the Alcoholism and Family series. Today we're going to be talking about the early stages of alcoholism and what to look out for, early warning signs to a spouse, a loved one, a friend, yourself, if you think you might be in the early stages of not being able to control yourself. So I wrote down a list here of some things that I was really having to remember back with mom, to things that just didn't seem right. In that the first 6 months to a year of noticing, something wasn't right with mom. Didn't want to think she was an alcoholic. Didn't want to admit that she might be an alcoholic, but I really wish we would have caught it early and really tried to get her help early on. So, starting at number one is drinking more often, even if it's just a couple glasses. So, in 2006, I had moved away right after high school, just turned 18 in July. So, I spread my wings and I flew the nest, right? I was the baby, I flew the nest. Nothing my parents did, they didn't drive me out of the house. I was just ready to experience a new thing. So, while I was in South Dakota, moved 2 states away. While I was in South Dakota, my brother and sister would message me, and we would chat, and they would be like, my sister really noticed it first, and she seemed more concerned. My brother just seemed like mom was having fun, but they would say like, hey, mom's really been letting loose lately. She's been drinking a little bit more. When we have cookouts and stuff like that. Little get-togethers. So, mom's been drinking more. She's been letting loose. And at first, everybody thought it was funny. Grandma's getting a little loosey goosey. And, it was kind of a novelty, sort of funny thing. But I noticed something was off when I came back for a wedding. I came back to visit for a wedding. And early on in the night, like I want to say by the time we got to the venue, mom was already pretty lit. And I just remember thinking like man, this is gonna be a crazy night if we just got to the reception and mom's already ready to party. And so mom would get pretty um, loud, obnoxious, sometimes mean on Chardonnay, on wine, and it kind of was embarrassing because this is people that we might not have seen in years, and mom is getting pretty crazy. So that's really what I noticed first, was just um, mom drinking more often, but again not really wanting to think that alcoholism was going to come into play or anything like that. And these are all going to go hand in hand, and I'll try to explain all that maybe near the end, but they all kind of go hand in hand but separate. If you've been there, if you're starting to go through it, you'll see. So at number two, we have drinking more heavily during the week, causing the drinker to call off of work. So mom worked at a call center for a pretty large, wealthy company that I will not mention because I could probably get sued for slander and or cease and desist. But mom partially blames them for her drinking, and that's actually going to be in the next one here. But mom worked at this call center, so she would get her schedule printed out on this little slip of paper. She would leave it on the table, whatever. But most days she didn't get home till about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. Dad would get home from work about 4:30. So normally dad's home before mom. Well, as time went on, dad would see mom's car in the driveway when he got home. And he would think, oh, that's kind of strange. I didn't think she was sick. And so he would go in the house and she would just say like, oh yeah, I wasn't feeling well, so I stayed home. or she would say that she did go to work but then left early because she wasn't feeling well. So after this started happening, maybe 3, 4 times a month, right? It started happening maybe once a week. Dad started to get a little wise to it. So he would tell me that, Mom would say that she left work and got home early. So when Dad would get home from work, he would place his hand on the hood of Mom's car and feel that it was ice cold. So even if she did come home early, the hood would still be at least warm. So he started catching her in lies. Now, number 3 is excuses of why the drinker feels like they need a drink or they deserve a drink. And these are just a few that, I remember Mom saying. She had a long day, right? I think we've all been there. You have a long day, you want to relax. Dealt with difficult people at her job. Now, she worked at a call center, and very wealthy people would call to make reservations at this certain place in Chicago. They had a few around the country, but where she was at, I think her district was more like Chicago, New York, where they would make reservations. And so she had to deal with a lot of very wealthy people, some famous, and some of these people were just very rude on the phone. And she claims that these rude people or these people that were talking through their cars. And again, we're talking like late 2000s, so we're talking like 07, 8, 9, to where that technology was still pretty new. So, the sound quality coming through the car stereo, it just wasn't the greatest. But she would say that, she's, had to deal 8, 9 hours of the day talking to these people on the phone, trying to understand them as they're driving, getting cut out. And so that was her biggest thing, is saying that she needed to relax, that she needed a drink because of dealing with that all day. So going along with drinking more often and excuses why. This is one that really sticks like number 1 in my head, because I just thought it was the weirdest thing to see Mom with a tall boy of Miller Lite. And so it was a summer day. I came out of my room, and it was like middle of the day too, which was the weird part. It was like middle of the day, and Mom left work early. On her way home, she grabbed a tall boy of, Miller Lite, big blue can. And I rarely saw Mom just drink beer. It was usually wine, or she would have mixed drinks of like vodka and something else. So I thought it was super weird that Mom had a tall boy of beer. And I was like, okay, starting the party early, Mom. And again, this is before we thought it was a problem. And she said, "Hey, it's just a beautiful summer day. Decided to get off work a little bit early, and just wanted to enjoy my day." So I was like, "Okay, good for you." She said the Cubs are going to be playing soon, so I was like, "Cool." So I just left it at that. But that is one thing that really stuck in my mind of, like, I've never seen Mom drink a beer, especially like a tall beer like that. So that is one thing that really raised a red flag with me. So at number 4, we have not being able to stop, meaning you are going to an event, you're going to a family get together, you're going somewhere where there won't be alcohol served, so you bring your own. Now, I'm not saying a concert, right? People love to bring smuggled drinks into concerts because they're so expensive at the concert, which I totally understand. But if you're going to a baby shower and you feel the need that you need to bring your own alcohol, like, you have a problem. You're going on a road trip as a passenger, and you feel like you need to have a drink for that long ride. That's kind of a problem. So these two times in particular that I had just mentioned, this was probably 2 to 3 years into my wife and I, girlfriend at the time, our relationship. We were going on a road trip with my parents, separate cars, but we were going on a road trip with my parents down to like North Carolina, Tennessee. And during the trip down, as time went on, as the miles piled up, we just noticed mom getting sillier and sillier and sillier until finally we were at this truck stop and she's laughing, she's flipping us off, and I'm thinking, I look over at my girlfriend and I'm like, is my mom drunk right now? And so at one of the rest stops, I asked Dad, I'm like, is mom's like really drinking? Like on the way down here? And he's like, yeah, she put it in her foam cup and, she's been making, mixed drinks as I'm driving. And I'm just like thinking, what in the world? And so there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that happening to where I would just think like, really? And the hard part about that is I'm trying to make memories with my parents on this trip. And the more that she's drinking, being annoying, being obnoxious, like it's just making me more upset. And, I'm trying to have a good time. I'm trying to, like I said, make memories that I can remember back on. And during the trips, you just feel more aggravated and upset, having to deal with this, being out in public, knowing that other people know. Maybe they don't, but you feel like they know. And that is really a problem. The other thing I had mentioned about the baby shower, um, my wife and I were having a baby shower for our firstborn, and this is when mom, we knew like mom had a problem, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, the only thing I ask you is please don't drink at the baby shower." And she said, "I won't, honey. I won't. I won't." And I believed her. And we had the baby shower. It was a great time. But during the baby shower, I kept, just kind of looking over mom, seeing, how she was doing. And she kept up the act very well because probably about a week, 2 weeks after the baby shower, we were hanging out at home and she was drunk, and we got on the subject of the baby shower and everything, and she starts laughing, and she goes, "You didn't know? I was drinking. I was drunk at the shower." And I came unglued. When I tell you I was screaming at the top of my lungs at my mother, um, it's not something that I'm proud of, but it hurt that bad. Um, for her to disrespect my wife, our unborn child, me, it just hurt really bad. And, she just kind of brushed it off, like it was nothing. She was just like, just she told me to calm down, and she was just laughing it off. She was just like, "Honey, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay." And I think that pissed me off even more, that she didn't even acknowledge she was wrong. And yeah, like looking back now, it's like I don't even feel bad, honestly, for screaming at mom, because I was that hurt. So at number 5, covering up hangovers as ailments. So mom's go-to was vertigo. She would say, if we would have a birthday party or something, a cookout at an event, and if she wasn't there, she would send everybody a text and be like, hey everybody, I have really bad vertigo today. I'm just not feeling well. And dad would show up, and he would be like, yeah, mom's really dizzy. She says she has vertigo, and like I said in the previous video that we would just look at each other. We would even look at dad and kind of give him a look like, really? And he would just kind of, shrug. And it was in the beginning, it's like, oh, that sucks. Hope mom feels better. Hope mom goes to the doctor for it. But no, it's as, time went on, we grew really wise pretty quickly to it, because that was just the go-to, whenever there was, a holiday. I mean, there were a bunch of Christmases that she missed, claiming it was vertigo. And, and then I would be like, oh, well, that's funny, because when I was over at the house, a couple weeks ago, she looked fine. And, it's, why is it always at, times of holidays, parties, birthday parties, things like that. And so yeah, that was just mom covering up her hangover, covering up her alcoholism at family events by not going anymore. um, just by saying it was vertigo. So if you're noticing somebody that you're close to, if you're noticing a loved one, a friend, um, start to uh, not show up to things, and claim, that maybe they're not feeling well, and it becomes a pattern, really look out for that. Um, and again, like I said, it's like I wish we would have actually tried doing something early on, but mom was just so stubborn in the fact that she says that she never had a problem, that she was just living her life. And you can't make somebody change unless they want to. And that was always the hard part for us, is we wanted mom to change, and she just always claimed she didn't have a problem. So um, all I can say is just try to be there for your person. Just try to be there for them. Like, looking back now, early on, I really would have tried to petition harder. We had, as a family, we had talked about doing an intervention, and uh, I think we eventually did. I don't know, I can't fully remember. And why I say I can't fully remember is because I think it was so um, underwhelming, because she was drunk at the time that we tried having an intervention. So she just brushed it off. She, I think, claimed that she didn't have a problem, and so it wasn't like a big thing where she said, okay, I'm gonna go get help and all this stuff. Um, and that's one of the most frustrating things about alcoholics and alcoholism, is they might not think they have a problem, or they don't want to admit that they have a problem, that they're just living their life. you know my mom was actually to the point where she was saying that she wanted to move out of the house and get an apartment on her own, still stay married to dad, but have her own apartment, to where she'll just be able to do what she wants at her apartment. And I remember getting so mad at her, thinking like, what are you talking about? You're married to dad. Like, you can't just you can't just do that, you know? And but that's where she was. That's where she was in the alcoholism journey, you know? It's like, I don't know if she didn't want to deal with dad telling her that she has to stop. Um, I think she just wanted to, like she said, she wanted to live her own life, and you know, that was a really tough thing for the family to really kind of get our heads around. I mean, she never did. She never moved out on her own. Um, Eventually, she kind of did, but that's gonna be for another time. All right, so let's do a recap here. Drinking more often, even if it's just a couple of drinks. Drinking more heavily during the week, causing the drinker to call off of work or not show up to events anymore. Excuses of why they need a drink. Not being able to stop bringing their own alcohol to events. Covering up hangovers as ailments. Now, if you or a loved one, you've noticed any of these symptoms, and it's happened pretty early on, you know, this is the time where you're really going to need to get the help. You're really going to need to reach out to that loved one if you notice them having any of these symptoms or signs. And it's going to be, it's probably going to be much easier doing this early on, getting that help, than years into it. Trust me. After mom was into it for years, it was like there was no turning back. So again, I really hope, you know, this list helped you catch any early signs of a loved one or yourself. And you know, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. I will try to get to them as quickly as I can. But that's what I love about this community is if I don't reply to a comment, somebody else will who has ever been in my shoes or has been in the alcoholic shoes. And it's just a really good thing to see all these people coming together to help one another. So until video number 3, I just want to thank you all again for watching, and stay safe. Um, just be there for one another, and we'll see you all in the next video.